The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Jess De Los Santos. The Social Welfare Department will resume educational cash payout in Western Visayas tomorrow. The agency said its Western Visayas regional office received 26 million pesos in additional funding. Earlier this week, the regional office announced that it would suspend cash aid distribution due to lack of funds. Aside from Western Visayas, the DSWD has also augmented the budget for payouts in the Bicol region. The DSWD has tomorrow and September 24 to process and release pending educational cash payouts.
Meron po tayong karagdagang 26 million na funding na binaba na po natin sa Field Office 6 natin, o yan yung ating Region 6. At ito po ay nakikita natin sasapat para sa payout na mangyayari po bukas hanggang September 24. Ang tinataya po nating target na maaari pong maabot na beneficiaries ng pondo pong ito ay nasa 5,000 pong mga mag-aaral. So, bukod po sa Western Visayas, ito lang pong Region 5, yung ating nakita na kumbaga may offshoot po, ay lumabis na po sila. So mga regular funds na po nila yung kanilang nagagamit.
It's all systems go for the plebiscite scheduled in Maguindanao tomorrow. Maguindanao residents are set to vote on whether to divide the province into two, specifically between Maguindanao del Norte and Maguindanao del Sur. Maguindanao del Norte will have 12 municipalities, while Maguindanao del Sur will get 24 towns. Plebiscite voting will run from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. tomorrow. The World Health Organization says the end of the COVID-19 pandemic is imminent as global infections and deaths continue to decline. JC Cosico with the details.
We're not there yet, but the end is in sight. We can see the finish line.
The end is in sight. That was the statement of World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus on the state of the COVID-19 pandemic worldwide. As last week, the number of weekly deaths reached its lowest point since March 2020. WHO data shows 11,000 COVID deaths were recorded globally from September 5 to 11, 22% lower than the previous week. Weekly infections also fell by 28% during the same period. Still, the WHO warns the fight continues.
Now is the worst time to stop running. Now is the time to run harder and make sure we cross the line and reap the rewards of all our hard work.
In the Philippines, COVID infections also continue to decline. That as of September 14, average daily cases are at 2,200, down 7% from the previous week. Positivity rate, meanwhile, is at 12.5%. Earlier this week, the government has allowed the optional use of face masks in open and non-crowded outdoor areas. Local governments are now issuing their respective ordinances following the new policy. But in Manila, face masks are still required in heavily crowded spaces and during activities where social distancing cannot be obtained, just like the Feast of the Black Nazarene.
Halimbawa po, sa mga lugar kagaya ng Quiapo, Divisoria, ini-encourage po namin na sana kayo po ay patuloy na gumamit ng face mask para na rin po sa inyong proteksyon.
The DOH also reminds the public to assess when to wear or remove their face masks.
Kasi dapat turuan natin yung ating mga mamamayan na syempre pag pupunta tayo sa high-risk area, isusuot natin ang mask. Pag pumunta tayo outdoor, low-risk, tatanggalin.
But the DOH maintained it won't recommend easing face mask restrictions in schools as masking remains protective to children.
Hindi ho namin irerekomenda kahit kailan na magtanggal ng mask ang ating mga kabataan kapag sila ay papasok sa eskwelahan. Gusto ko rin lang hong puntuhin na wala hong harm na nagagawa ang mask sa ating kabataan.
The agency says it will soon issue its revised minimum health protocol guidelines following the national order easing outdoor face mask rules.
At dyan natin ilalagay kung ano yung mga specifics natin according to low-risk individuals, according to low-risk settings.
For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
More stories after this short break. Stay with us. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Jess De Los Santos. The La Nina phenomenon is wreaking havoc in many economies as it causes droughts to some regions and flooding to others. Let's get more details on its impact in this Bloomberg video.
Less than a degree Celsius. That's the temperature change needed in the Pacific Ocean to up the price of your cup of coffee and a whole bunch of other stuff. Why? Because that little difference causes stronger winds over the Pacific, forcing warm air to push westward, creating the phenomena known as La Nina. While it typically comes every few years and lasts several months, this La Nina has been lingering since 2020. And odds are it's gonna stick around for a third winter in the Northern Hemisphere, lasting into 2023. So what are the consequences? Winter storms will shift away from California and the US West, leaving them drought-stricken. Drought and heat waves will stretch across Brazil and Argentina, affecting corn, soybean, coffee crops. Meanwhile, across Southeast Asia, rubber plantations and palm oil fields will be soaked. And as for Australia, rain and flooding from past La Ninas have hurt wheat quality and disrupted coal shipments. But some of the worst consequences are happening in the Caribbean right now. Changes brought by La Nina in the Pacific also affect Atlantic winds and could leave the region even more vulnerable to destructive storms.
Here's a quick look at today's other top stories. Typhoon Nanmadol is expected to enter the Philippine area of responsibility today, at which point it will be called Josie. Pag-asa says it will not have a direct impact on the country's weather. However, it may enhance the habagat, which would bring rains over Luzon and the Visayas. Cash remittances jumped to $2.9 billion in July, the highest in 7 months. This is more overseas Filipinos send money to their families in the Philippines in light of rising prices of commodities. And tennis superstar Roger Federer is set to retire from competitive play after next week's Laver Cup in London. The 41-year-old tennis icon says his recent bout with injuries and surgeries prompted him to call it quits. For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Jess De Los Santos. We are One News.